Alright, good morning guys. Welcome to another album rankings video here on Metal Ben's Chronicles. And today we're going to talk about Brazil's very own Sepultura, or otherwise pronounced Sepultura, which, is actually the proper way to pronounce it. And, what Sepultura is, grave in Portuguese, that's what it means. Or it's Portuguese for grave, you know what I mean? Anyways, in the background we're listening to Enoid, which I got off Hell's Headbangers a few months ago. Just going through, spinning these CDs. Alter Axis. Very good, I like this. If you're a fan of Marduk, you will definitely enjoy this. Very brutal, raw, black metal. Alright, let's get on to the rankings. Now, we're only doing the Max Cavalera era, which, would be from Bestial Devastation, the EP, Morbid Visions, up to Root from 1996. Anyways, we're going to get right into it. We're not going to talk about the Derek Green era, due to the fact I'm just not a big fan of it. And honestly, I'm not a huge collector of Sepultura. I'm just not really into collecting their stuff. To me, I just think they went downhill after Roots and after Max left, And the only album I really like with Derek Green is Kairos, which I believe was their 2010 album. It's the only album I can really get into. So we're going to get right into it, and yes. The worst album in my opinion, and I don't own it, I only own the first 4. Like I said, I'm just not interested in buying this band's full discography. Anyways, the worst of the Max era is Roots. I'm sorry. I know a lot of people like Roots. It's kind of like split and divide. There's people that like it, and there's people that don't like it. I happen to be on the other side that doesn't care for this album. I do like the track Roots, Bloody Roots, and I think Attitude is an alright track. Besides that, I'm just not into this album. I think it's very boring. There's no thrash on it. Dictator Bullshit's probably the closest to thrash, but it's not a good track. I just find the guitar playing on this too to be very lazy. Just down-tuned, new metal stout chords. Yeah. Compared to what they had done previously, to me, this is not a good album. It's a very lazy album, in my opinion. Now, a lot of people are going to definitely disagree with me, because there's a lot of people that like Roots. To me, I'm just not a fan of it. Sorry, dudes, my opinion, Roots to me is the worst album with Max. Alright, so that would be number 6. Number 5, I don't own this on CD anymore either, and I've just had no desire to rebuy it. And it's really not a bad album, but to me, this is where Sepultura, really changed direction. I'm talking about Chaos AD from 1993. Now, this did have a major label backing. They were still on Roadrunner, but they were backed up by Columbia Records, which is kind of odd. I mean, the album did good. There are good tracks on it, don't get me wrong. Slave New World's a freaking phenomenal track. The opening track, Chaos AD, great. What else is on it? Territory, I believe? Like I said, I don't got the CD sitting in front of me. I do kind of forget the track listing on it. But yeah, man, it's got good songs. It's not horrible. Biotech is Godzilla, though, would be the only, ultra thrashy tune, and it's only, barely 2 minutes long. Yeah, like I said, Chaos AD is not a bad album. But to me, it's just not thrashy enough. And I know a lot of people are going to disagree because Chaos AD, again, is another one of those albums a lot of people really love by Sepultura. But I'm sorry. And number 4 is really going to be controversial. Now, I do love this freaking album, but man, it was kind of hard to go back and forth actually between these two albums. If this was my introduction to Sepultura back in the day, I know this is probably a lot of people's introduction to Sepultura back in the day, but I'm going to say it, man. Arise. Yeah, man. Still a very good album. And at the time, a lot of people probably don't know the band rushed to put this album out. They did not spend a lot of time on this album. But it's still a freaking great album. Like, my God, Arise. What a great thrashy tune. Dead Embroiled Cells, Desperate Cries. 3 tracks in a row that are just absolutely phenomenal. And yeah, on this album, there was a bit of change in direction, too. There's still a lot of thrashy shit on here. But this is where the groove kind of came in. The more melodic side, the more tribal side of Sepultura came in, Like on tracks like Altered State. Yeah, I think it's Altered State that has like tribal drum beginnings on it. And there's a little bit of industrial on here, It's still a good album, though. So even though it's my number 4, I'm definitely not bashing the album. I just think the other 3 are better. Anyways, my number 3. And to me, this is an album, when it comes to Sepultura, gets pretty forgotten about. You don't really hear a lot of people talk about it. And this is going back to the very early days. Morbid Vision. And of course, it's got the Bestial Devastation EP. I'm telling you what, I'd love to have original pressings of these. This is just great raw stuff, man. Yes, you can definitely hear the Celtic Frost influence on here. Especially with the title, Morbid Vision. So come on now, Morbid Tales by Celtic Frost. And at the time, Sepultura admitted it. And this would be with the original lineup, with Jerry O.T. on guitars. Yes. Before Andreas Kisser. Now, he's definitely not near as good of a lead guitar player as Andreas. Jerry O.T. is more of just a fucking raw thrash metal shredding guitarist. But this right here could be a predecessor to, proto-death metal. Blackened death metal. Blackened thrash metal. And to me, I just think this album kind of gets forgotten about when it comes to that. I mean, we know, you hear about the albums by Creator, like Pleasure to Kill, that started the blackened thrash or, thrash death metal movement, But, you kind of got to throw this in there, too, because this came out around that time, But this is very raw, very primitive sounding. Man. I mean, you got killer tracks like Troops of Doom, Mayhem, War. Crucifixion's probably my favorite track on here. Then on the Bestial Devastation side, you have tracks like, Warriors of Death, Necromancer, The Antichrist, the self-titled track, Bestial Devastation, man. Just killer stuff. Alright, my number 2 might be a lot of people's number 1 also. And I really, really love this freaking album. And this would be the start of Sepultura having better production on albums. And they hooked up with Scott Burns here. This would have been their first trip to America at the time. And their first album issued by Roadrunner Records, I I'm talking about Beneath the Remains. My number 2. Could be my number 1 by far, but the one I like the most we'll talk about here in a minute. Phenomenal album. Nothing weak about it. Just a great freaking aggressive thrash metal album. To me, that rivaled Slayer's Rain and Blood. Even though it came out 3 years later. But yeah, just really good stuff, man. The title track, Beneath the Remains, with that eerie acoustic beginning. Then it just turns into a pulse-pounding, pure thrasher. Mass Hypnosis, come on, man. Inner Self, you know? Lobotomy. I mean, Primitive Future, to end the album off. Holy crap, what a great way to end it. So thrashy. Yeah, man. Fucking voice is feeling a little hoarse here. Let me get a swig of coffee. You know you're getting old when you start your mornings out drinking coffee. Back in the day, it'd be like back in the day, you'd start your mornings out on the weekends or whatever, drinking a beer or a Jack and Coke or something. Oh, you know you're getting old, man, when you can't do that every day no more. I got work tonight anyways. Anyways, let's get on with my number 1 here. Schizophrenia. This has been my number 1 for a very long time. I love this freaking album. I love the raw nature of it. To me, this would be Sepultura's Ride the Lightning. You know? Definitely a change in direction here. Still extremely thrashy. Slayer-influenced rhythms, you know? And Max just sounds freaking awesome, you know? But yeah, this would be the first with Andreas Kisser on guitars, man. Oh my goodness, man. From the Past Comes the Storm, man. Holy crap, what a great song. To the Wall, probably my favorite on here. Escape to the Void, come on. Then you got Inquisition Symphony, the instrumental. Just a pure masterpiece of an instrumental, in my opinion. You know? Screams Behind the Shadows, you know? Septic Schizo, The Abyss, another short little instrumental, you know, with a classical acoustic guitar piece. And R.I.P. Rest in Pain, a pure thrasher to end it. Yeah, my favorite Sepultura album, Sepultura, whatever you want to call it. And that's it for this ranking. Alright, keep it metal!